I'll go ahead and sign those as soon as you guys look it over, see if we have any questions.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes pass. And I'll
If I
go
could
ahead and
get a
sign.
favor
Go
out
ahead.
of you guys, Nate, since we missed last month, if we could have a, actually, we don't need a motion, we just
Go
need
ahead.
the chair to sign it saying it was canceled last month. That way we've got something in the spot and not just, it
Okay.
looks like we might have lost the minutes.
Okay, I'll sign these two as well, or just this one. And then, does anybody need to be sworn in to speak tonight?
Did they sign in?
Anybody?
We've had no one sign in right now, but if you guys plan on speaking either one, we recommend that sign in and swear.
And so the October form has been signed as well, since there wasn't a meeting last month, so we should be good there.
Or you could have Margaret scan that and send that to me.
I'm sorry, well, oh, yeah, I will.
Send that to me. I didn't think you could sign.
Okay, thank you for signing in, and then Charlie will get you sworn in just in case you have to speak tonight.
Do you swear or affirm the statement you'll make tonight to be the truth to the best of your information and belief? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No old applications, so we'll go to the new applications, letter A. Take it away.
All right, our first item is application G-2024-22, two sign variances for the property at 1131 Lexington Road. The first of which is for second wall signage along frontage along Jacobs Drive, and the other sign variance is for wall signage on non-frontage building faces. Again, these are B2 zone parcels with B2 and P1 on joining. It is about, or just under an acre of land. Staff recommendation is both in favor and against. In favor of the request for the second wall sign along Jacobs, and against the request for wall sign along non-road frontage. This is the location here, so if you guys have driven by in a fair bit of time, they tore down the entirety of the existing building. They filed an amended development plan with our office to essentially build exactly where it was going to be, where it was previously, but just with new fixtures, new walls, new everything. That was just an internal staff review. We didn't actually have to take that to hearing because we didn't have changes in square footage. And on the north side is Jacobs Drive, on the east side is Lexington. This is the zoning map here, so the P1 zone is Jacobs Drive, which is where the old airport was and Marshall Park is, and then everywhere else is B2. When we're reviewing for standards for state statute, we refer to KRS 100.243, which lists the findings requirements. Before variances are granted, the board must find that granting a variance would not adversely affect public health, safety, welfare, nor alter the character of general vicinity, nor cause hazard or nuisance to public, and would not cause any unreasonable circumnavigation of zoning regulations. In making findings, the board shall consider 3 items: that the requested variance arises from special circumstances that do not generally apply to land in the general area, that strict application of provision of regulation would deprive applicant of reasonable use of land or create unnecessary hardship, and that circumstances are the result of of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of zoning regulations from which the relief is now being sought. And that, item 2 is that any variance request arising from circumstances that are the result of willful violation action of the applicant should be denied. So, in part of their development here, they have they're putting up a new building, a little bit more modernized. So these 2 slides will kind of illustrate the locations where additional signage is needed. I believe they are putting signage along the frontage that's facing Lexington Road, but that signage wasn't really requiring any accommodation. And they are requesting continued use of their kind of very large faced Burger King sign that is pre-existing. I believe they may be changing out the logo for a little bit cleaner, since the white doesn't look so white and the red kind of looks more like orange. But for the building itself, that is where we are seeing these variances being required. So this is, if you were driving southbound on Lexington Road at the intersection of Jacobs and Lexington Road, this is what you would see on the signage of the building itself. So you can see the Burger King in white, kind of above the decorative windows, and then the home of the Whopper before that one entrance location. And then on the other side, on the pickup window side for the drive-through, you would see the distinctive crown and the Burger King label above, kind of the artistic band that would be going across the building itself. And so both sides require variances. When we're looking at the sign ordinance for wall signage, we look at section 7 of the standing Georgetown sign ordinance, which states that corner tenants may have 2 signs, one on each side of the building facing public right-of-way, and one of those signs is designated as your primary sign, which gets 100% of the allotted square footage that you could get for your zone and your road frontage. And the other side would be considered secondary, and if there's a third side, then it'd be tertiary, and so on and so forth. And that second allowable sign would be allowed 2/3 of the area that the primary sign side would be. The general calculation standard for wall signage is 1 square foot per 1 linear foot of road frontage, up to a maximum of 150 square feet. And there's approximately 430 feet along Jacobs, which means that while it may, under ordinance, the first part of the ordinance say you could have up to 430 square feet, we do cap that off at 150, so it's 150. And the second item of note is that there's no provision that would allow for non-road frontage sides of a building be allowed to have additional signage on their side. So with those things kind of considered here, we have to take it to a board for variation and consideration. And so, again, this is our side here. The findings are as follows. Let me see what I can read this. I don't really want to do that part yet. Rhett kind of made this, so I'm kind of trying to fix it here. So again, when we're reviewing to these, we look at KRS 100.243. It is not entirely uncommon that a building itself faces or has public road frontage on both or multiple sides. More often than not, you have one side, and then it's maybe a drive-through or a private road or something like that. So that is a bit of a more unique circumstance for these types of commercial operators. Furthermore, it may prevent reasonable use of the property or create unnecessary hardship due to just the nature of these businesses being located along major arterial roads is to attract people to stop. And it may be argued, I believe either one of you guys are representatives of BK, but it may be argued that lack of that signage would reduce their ability to make sales. Of course, there's no one here representing BK, so that's obviously up for debate still, whether or not that is truly a necessity if they need that signage. However, that's the consideration there. And then the circumstances are, this is post rezoning kind of conditioning, everything like that. So the circumstances being resulted of the applicant taken subsequent to adoption of ordinance is kind of been found. They didn't exactly make these situations happen. They didn't ask for a public road to be there, but now one is, and now they're looking for additional accommodation. Ultimately, these are kind of the 6 findings here, which talks about wall signage requirements. It talks about minimum lot sizes, or lot sizes itself. The 2 signs on Long Jacobs Road would total the 81 square feet, which is less than 2/3 of the requirement of the ordinance. So in all honesty, that one really doesn't need a variance. But wall signage along buildings that do not front public streets is applicable here. So this is not a public street on that one south side when you're driving northbound on Lexington Road, the side that you would see with the drive-through window. And the ordinance states that that's not really an allowable thing. So that one's coming to it. Ultimately, staff recommends the additional sign for total area of proposed signs. That would be less than what would be required of a single sign. Again, I meant to identify this uniquely of those are two different signs. So the one by right would be like either the home of the Whopper or the Burger King. And so they're asking for a second one, and the sum of those two is less than the 100 feet, which is 2/3 of what would be allowable along Lexington Road itself.
So they have to pick one or the other?
They would have to pick one or the other or apply for a variance.
Or shrink the size of it?
Well, it doesn't matter, if one or the other, or apply for variance. So they've applied for variance option, and that's what's under consideration and everything. Sorry, does that make sense?
Is all of the signs lit?
I believe so, but again, the applicant's not here to confirm or deny that one. I can look at the specs. They gave us specs, which is very light.
I was more curious about the one above the drive-through window.
Let me see. It does, it does appear to be lit. It's saying it's a channel letter lit style, so it would be kind of a sticking out from the wall with the letters kind of outlined, type situation. So yes, I would say that that would be a lit sign, or at least have the capacity to be lit. Again, I can't exactly confirm because there's no applicant here that can vouch for if it's going to be lit or not, but based off of the information we provided, I would reasonably anticipate that that would be a lit sign. Ultimately, with everything considered, staff recommends approval to allow for the second sign along Jacobs because again, that volume would not exceed the 2/3 provision of signage size, and denial of the request on the south side because as there is no road frontage on that side. Regardless of where the board lies on this one, staff recommends 3 conditions of approval. The first is that they adhere to all of our regulations. The second is that they adhere to everyone else's regulations, so local, state, federal regulations. And the third is that they return to us with any changes. So if they decide home of the Whopper's not big enough, they got to come back to us for consideration because that was a component of why potentially a decision was made. If illumination was under consideration as well, or it may be under consideration as well, then we would say you have to come back because you wanted illuminated. You didn't present us an illuminated sign previously. But anyway.
So the side without the road frontage is the drive-through?
Yes, it is the drive-through window side.
With the crown and the Burger King?
With the crown and the Burger King,
And
yes.
if we deny it, they can't put either of those up there?
Correct.
And that's the side that's facing Zaxby's?
Yes.
Essentially? Okay.
And there's no wall signage facing Lexington Road, is that?
They've not proposed anything or included it with their package. There may be signage along Lexington Road, and I would reasonably anticipate that like this circle right here may be the
Right.
circle logo sign there.
Yeah.
But without the applicant here, I cannot confirm or deny that one. This is why we make them come here. If it is to the preference of the board that you would like these questions answered, you may have the or you may choose to postpone it a month with the intent that the applicant shows up and answers these questions related to illumination, sign face on other sides. It may be a worthwhile determination, but ultimately it's up to you guys.
I mean, it's nice that they can't have anything over the drive-through side, but if that's the rule, then that's the rule. But
They're not here to make their case that should allow for it. I mean, I'd have to look at the record to see if previously they have had non-road frontage sides get wall signage, but at least in this circumstance, our ordinance seems pretty straightforward on that regard, or is pretty straightforward on that regard.
right.
Delay it a month, or go ahead and just approve our staff recommendation?
If there are questions that you would like to have answered before you make a determination or a decision, and those questions would impact your determination and decision, I would recommend that you would postpone it with the explicit intent that they show up next time
I
and they
just
make their
think it might
case.
look weird without any signage there, but, you know, it's just my,
Yeah.
what do y'all think?
I think I'll make a motion that we postpone it a month and request that they be here to answer questions about their application.
Do we have to provide them with the questions at a time?
If I may, so with any time there's a variance application, it is the responsibility of the applicant to provide evidence for the hardship that would necessitate this. And so your board would be under no obligation to prepare the applicant in advance.
Mhm.
This is their application, their responsibility.
Yes.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll pass that motion to delay till next month to request they be at the meeting to further evaluate.
All right, I will ask them why they were not here, why they did not grace us with their presence, and we shall hopefully have some answers to your questions at the next upcoming meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Our second item of tonight is G-2024-23, a conditional use permit to construct and operate a new parish hall with attached worship space at 806 Cincinnati Road. It is P1B zone professional office district. Adjoining P1B, C1, and A1 properties is approximately 30.97 acres with access onto Cincinnati Road through kind of a shared driveway situation with Yoko N and Cardone, and then on the other side where the school enters, that's where the Georgetown-Scott County Senior Center is located, which I did not know was back there until I had to go there for a meeting. Anyway, this is a picture of the property here. So it kind of, the creek goes around on the south side, it goes underneath the bridge, and then it comes back up parallel. As we are familiar, Cardome has been here for a rather long time, was purchased by the Roman Catholic Diocese in the late 90s, early 2000s from the city, and is now being used as their kind of new location for St. Francis St. John Parish and the school as well, so the St. John School. They are looking to build a new facility. It is not uncommon for these types of facilities to be built. For example, my parents' diocese up in Cleveland, there are probably 50 of them that are now being built or are in progress of getting these little life centers, little community areas for people to use that are more of a flex space. So this is what they're kind of looking for to set some context. This is the property zoning here. You can see kind of the blue shape. The Singer House is to the north, the floodplain and the creek are to the south and east. And then to the west is a portion of the Singer property that was going to be, or was rezoned and was going to be developed for residential use. We've not seen any major new plans in that area, or new development plans in a little bit there, but we're working on it. Section 2.33 of the ordinance lists churches, libraries, and educational facilities as a conditional use in all districts. And again, it's had a long-standing use as a campus for religious and private education. And their addition that they're working on is going to add approximately 10,500 square feet of building that would be located centrally to the property, removing an existing building, adding new parking spaces, and putting some new landscaping. As I'd mentioned before the meeting, an application for preliminary development has been filed with the Planning Commission Board that is under review and should be expected to be heard at the November 14th meeting of the Planning Commission Board. So we're working on that one. Their permit application would allow for continuation and expansion of their conditional use on the property for religious purposes, should ultimately this be approved. Besides what is already occurring on the property, this would not be expanding any additional uses. We would not be adding a pickleball arena or something like that to the area. It would just be a new venue to host some more events as potentially the parish is growing, or just there's an interest need for more space for people. Again, as I stated previously, they have filed a preliminary development plan that is under review by staff before we take it before the Planning Commission Board for review and consideration. This is kind of the layout here without the actual trees up, so we were able to get this, we were able to get this from the applicant. This is part of their development plan. So this is the main kind of white top building that everyone thinks of when they think of Cardone. The buildings back here are kind of the parts of the school, as well as this building here. This location, and this up here is the senior center, the Georgetown-Scott County Senior Center, and then the entrance kind of tucks down in this location here. And then their new building would be actually larger than their existing Cardone Center building, located approximately, it would be west of this existing building along this little campus thing. They're proposing some new parking along this new access roadway and some new parking in this area, but mostly just using this location as their proposed new building. Again, we are working on reviewing it right now, so unfortunately I don't have a lot of development comments related to this, but that is what they are proposing on doing right now for their kind of expanded use, but not really expanded operational times, that type of thing. As such, these are our findings here. So section 1 lists, or section 2.33 lists those uses that are considered conditional in all zones. It is anticipated that the conditional use permit would not adversely impact public health, safety, welfare, nor alter the character. Again, they're just expanding, or at least to my understanding, they are just expanding their options and spaces for religious use, school use, but they're not proposing any new user to go into that space, thus increasing activity on the property outside of just having a new venue for them. We would not anticipate that it would significantly alter traffic in the area due to the just new building, same uses. And condition 4 just talks about the concurrently filed concurrently filed plan, preliminary development plan that they're working on. And we would be evaluating that to make sure that it meets all of our standards for new construction and development. Ultimately, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit to construct and operate the new parish hall with worship center at 806 Cincinnati Road. Should it be approved, staff recommends including 4 conditions there. They're subject to our rules, they're subject to everyone else's rules, local, state, and federal. They return to us with prior to any changes in approved conditions, and the use permit becomes null and void upon transfer of ownership or sale of property. Neither one of the gentlemen here are with this. No, unless Clinton, you're not. You're just. Are you representing the church? Or okay, you're just a neighbor, and you're also a neighbor. So unfortunately, again, 0 for 2 on the applicants showing up to the meetings. So if there are questions that I cannot answer or that would impact your guys' determination, again, I'd recommend postponing it until they show up.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the planning and zoning team? Okay. Is anybody here to speak for or against this?
Yes, feel free.
Could you put that drawing back up to you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We also do have full-size copies of the plans at the office as well, if you wanted a paper copy.
Clint, do you have any questions?
Do you guys want to speak at all?
No.
Fine.
I don't feel like I know enough right now. I'd like to,
Okay.
this is the first time I'm seeing, so.
Okay.
I just want to know.
I will say for our purposes as well, like, corrections deadline was last Wednesday, so this plan is, while we are familiar with the preliminary version, any like tweaks or changes to it, I've had a little bit of time to review, but I've not had a whole bunch of time to review to provide any comment. But again, most of those comments will be, or I'm sorry, all of those comments will be related to the actual development plan side of things and not really to the use permit. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve based on staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And they know where to go toward the next,
Yes,
you know,
yeah, they know
things
the
are
next
as
things.
opposed
Yeah,
to those
November
specifics.
14th will be
Okay.
the development
Okay.
plan. I will send them a letter at the end of the day, or Wednesday.
Okay.
I will send them a letter, or have Rhett send them a letter saying this is what they were approved for,
Yeah,
and to go forth and conquer will be the word I'll choose.
okay.
But besides all that, there are no additional other business. I don't know, Holden, if you wanted to speak very briefly to the board, kind of do a nice little introduction speech. I feel like you've done a lot of them. This is like your last board you gotta do it for.
Thank you.
Is that your discretion on
Well, great job, everybody. So I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of you, but again, my name is Holden Fleming. I'm the new director for planning and zoning. Obviously, as one of the many boards that we provide staff to, you guys' work is very important. The kind of the message that I've been carrying as I've gone to the different groups is that we are a full-service planning staff. And so as things come up, as items arise, please lean on staff. You know, whether that is questioning staff here at the hearing, or if you have questions about a case before it comes to you, you can always give us a call. You can always send us an email. We want to be, you know, helpful to you so that you can do your jobs in the most efficient and effective way. With that said, we are heading into the holiday season, so I hope all of you guys have wonderful Thanksgiving and Christmas plans. I'm sure that, you know, as somebody new to the community, I'm very excited to be here, and thank you guys a lot.
That's great, thank you. And where did you all move from?
Yeah, so Texas originally.
Texas, okay.
Yeah, but we spent the last 5 years in Washington State.
Okay.
Peter wrote a great article in the paper, actually. You would have thought I tipped him at the end of it or something, but.
Including Mother's maiden name and social security.
Yeah, we're street I grew up on.
Through the sidebar, it has it all spelled out.
That's awesome. We're glad to have you. Thank you. Yeah. That's great.
All right, guys, thanks.
Thank you. Is there, I'm trying to think in my head, is there any fast food places that have a drive-up window that's not facing a road that doesn't have a sign? I'm gonna go drive around Georgetown.
Next board meeting, you'll be over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of in previous instances.
Like, I'm thinking like the McDonald's by Lowe's has a drive-through window that's not by road
Dunkin'
frontage, and I don't think it has a sign.
Right, they've got
There's no
that massive
sign there.
parking lot, but it's not
And then
road frontage on that
Wendy's
side.
is on the corner, their drive-through window is on the main road frontage, so
Yeah,
I'll drive around.
yeah, we've been doing some work on some
Nate will get to the
upgrades
bottom
and
of this.
everything,
Yeah,
so
I was just curious.
maybe a thing.
But, yeah, so, alright.
Yep.
Carl,
Thank you,
go
guys.
with him, we need an extra set of eyes on this.
Split up.
Divided property, take these right, because I take this
I'm gonna pop around and see while I'm driving.
We'll take the coffee shot.
Because at first I thought, man, that would look weird without a sign, but then I thought, I don't think any other place, has drive-through that's not road frontage.
Carl,
What?
Carl, yeah. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Hey, Nate.
Yeah, good idea.
How are you?